Hello and welcome once again to Company of Heroes History. This will be the final episode of Company of Heroes History that we do on patch version 1.21. And the reason I've saved this game for last is because it is, I believe, the very best game of Company of Heroes of Heroes that was played on patch 1.2. Now this game is another one on Semois that we saw earlier in one of the episodes between Vittinsby and Smav, but this time we have Ahenian in the Axis in the northeast, and in the southwest we have Arya, who is actually Aniketos, playing as the allies in the southwest. This game is quite a famous and notorious one and has been casted a few times before, and this is one of the few games I've casted that you can still find existing casts that were actually done in 2006. So what I'll do is, if you want to watch those original casts, maybe you want to sync up the high definition video with the audio from the original casts, I'll pop those links in the description of this video so you can decide how you'd like to watch it best. But I am going to sort of recast this game, which is something I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to balance recasts of games that may already have a famous existing cast, and casting games that haven't been casted before, or there is no cast that still remains for them. So many have been lost to history, so to speak. I'm kind of trying to strike a balance between those and hopefully introducing you to some of the classic casts as well as my own ones. So yeah, you can find a cast done by Tales of Heroes by Bridget and Vittinsby of this game, and I'll pop that in the description for you. It's up on YouTube. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the action here. We can see that one engineer squad has taken this house. This house is a nice and important one. It's a little bit easy to take out, even if you do get something in there. It's a nice one to have an MG inside, but if you only get an engineer squad or something, you can easily pop some Volks in this area here. With only this one window, these Volks will easily win that fight. They're going to chase that away relatively easily, although we now have some riflemen coming over, helping out. Going to make this a little bit more of an even trade. We do have down here, the Pioneer Squad is going for the cutoff. Quickly, I'll just show you that. Now the Volks are going to have to try and hold their own against these riflemen with the support of the engineers in their house. The engineers haven't come over and helped too much, and the riflemen have managed to close the distance, and now this is a very awkward engagement. The engineers over here, there's an engineer squad there running away, and another one in the house. If they'd come up very close, this would have been over very, very quickly indeed, but it's not to be. In the meantime, I'll switch very quickly to the engagement that's going on in the north between what looks like a Jeep and a Captain Pioneer Squad. Yep, here we go. Ahenian was trying to block off this area, and it seems like he might have been successful in blocking off this area, and locking down that choke point, making it a bit easier, but the Jeep is going to chase that Pioneer away. And in the meantime, this second Pioneer Squad did get the decap on the fuel, so the fuel income and this munitions here has been cut off because of this fuel point being decapped. So that looks like it was a pretty successful raid, particularly given that he got those units away. Although, if these riflemen choose to stop capping and focus their fire on the retreating squad, they may be able to take it out. No, not quite. That Pioneer Squad will live to fight another day. Now, it looks like Ahenian's got an MG gun in this house here. Yeah, you can just see it poking through the window. So that is going to hold down this area quite nicely. But he hasn't yet got access to... hasn't been able to capture this fuel on the side, this nice fuel, or to get access to either of the plus 16 munitions. So on the north of the map here, Ahenian will be a little short on munitions, particularly considering he didn't cap this easy point here, this easy medium point, which is right next to his base. Maybe that's something his single Pioneer could nip over and do now, but we'll have to see. Volk Grenadier is going to chase off this Jeep now, maybe trying to cap that plus 16, although they will struggle against this Jeep and rifle combination. They're sitting in heavy cover, going to try and take that from distance. In the meantime, MG did move out of the house and is going to chase off these two weakened squads in the south, the rifles and engineers. And the Volk Grenadiers coming over here can now decap this and stop Aniketos' access to that nice plus 16 munitions. In the meantime, going back to this engagement in the north, it looks like the cover is doing the trick for Ahenian. Aniketos has brought over his Jeep to try and sort of help out in this engagement, but he isn't using it as we would today to kind of push around the Volks, getting them out of cover. That wasn't something that was really discovered just yet, and we'll see in future casts who did discover that, and a rifle squad goes down. That is a big moment, and depending on whether Ahenian has managed to get up to the skirmish phase, up to the second phase yet. He may already have access to the Panzerfaust to take that out. He doesn't, and instead chooses to retreat. I think that was a good engagement for him. Taking out a rifle squad, getting this Jeep down to low health, so it's going to have to go off and heal. I think that's a good engagement, particularly when in the meantime he's been able to decap this point. Although he doesn't actually cut off this munitions from Aniketos by capturing that, which is a bit of a shame. Anyway, this Volks Grenadier is now going to move into the center. It's very interesting. We've seen almost no engagements in the center. Both of the low munitions points remain uncapped. No one has capped the VP, and no one has plonked any MGs or units in any of these important buildings, either the church or any of these houses here. It's really, do such a good job of locking down this area. That was really the dominant metagame in the early days of Company of Heroes. And so let's have a quick look in the base now. I'm going to check the tactical map quickly and do a little unit count. So we have 3 rifleman squads on the field for Aniketos, alongside the Jeep and 1 engineer. And it looks like we have 2 Volks Grenadier squads, an MG and 2 pioneers. So it looks like a squad has gone down at some point for the Axis as well. I was able to capture that directly. It could be that he's just invested in this point instead. Having said that, this MP40 squad could be in trouble. A single MP40 squad against 3 riflemen that are really putting the pressure on his fuel. I think he's going to have to get out of there. He does. Will the squad go down there? That would be a real shame, especially considering they're carrying those MP40s that have just been upgraded for 50 munitions. They will get away. And now 3 rifleman squads battering down on this observation post. Although these are pretty high health, they will go down pretty quickly with that amount of firepower on them. What's going to do is get the cutoff here, just stopping the access to this second plus 60 munitions here. So yep, again, a good job by Ahenian, just lowering that income, kind of removing a few options from Aniketos is kind of what I see him as doing there. Volks Grenadiers and Pioneers are going to try and push this off one way or another, but I really think he needs to bring an MG back, which may be what's coming out of there right now. Indeed it is. This MG will really help with this. He may be able even to pin all of these squads simultaneously. Although, of course, the extra line of sight from the Jeep should mean that Aniketos has ample time to get out of there before that goes down. It shouldn't be a problem at all. Although, that is a couple of squads getting... Looks like a couple of squads were suppressed there. In the meantime, the MP40s are choosing to try and take out the Jeep. After getting that close, they should take it out in short order, to be honest. Although, having said that, they're taking a lot of fire from these riflemen. And the engineers are going to come over and they may be able to save it. In fact, they do. That's a good bit of work there from Aniketos to keep that alive. Very, very good work. In the meantime, this decap is in place, so the pin is still going on here in the center. You see the MG here, accompanied by these Volks Grenadiers, and having decapped this point. This is a real pin. It means that any resources on the side of the map, the kind of north side of the map, are really hard to connect for the allies. So that's a really good option. That's kind of 1/2 of the Semois pin, so to speak, although it's lacking the wire across this gap here, which would make it the classic Semois pin as demonstrated in early videos. This point, decap is still in place here, so you'll notice that Ahenian really doesn't have any access to fuel whatsoever. He doesn't have the +10 connected. The +5 over here isn't connected either because of this decap. Although it's in his possession, he's not getting any benefit from that. So it's really going to be low on fuel. The classic quick tier 3 is going to be very tricky to pull off with that little fuel income. But having said that, it looks like this Volks Grenadier is maybe trying to cap here and try and connect kind of in a wiggly way through the middle of the map. Well, that's going to be a little bit tricky, I suppose. It looked like that was another rifleman squad almost going down. It's very lucky to escape there with his life. Running the gauntlet through that MP40 squad, but did manage to get away. In the meantime, a couple of Pioneers just coming to the south here. They're going to struggle, unfortunately, against this rifleman squad. They may be better served coming to the middle and capping there, or maybe laying down a mine or two. There we go. Good timing. This MP40 squad now, again moving forward, trying to do some damage there with the help of the MG. It's doing a great job. They're really doing an awful lot of damage to those rifleman squads, which are forced to retreat. He's also getting in that house now, which is a bit of a strange decision. That's a pretty poor house there, although maybe any cover is better than no cover. These MP40s need to get out of there. That Jeep could really... Well, it's been causing havoc. It's been really well used, I think. It's easy to underestimate the Jeep in the early game. Oh! And that, I think that means that he's gone for armor company and he's using the raid the raid ability, using light vehicles to capture points. It's an interesting and kind of underused ability, I think, even today. Doesn't finish capping that point, in fact, though, so he is going to run away and take a little bit of damage as he does from that. We have the Pioneer Squad moving towards the north now, going to get that plus 16 munitions on side. Yeah, the map control now is a little bit strange. I think it's swung back pretty firmly in favor of Aniketos in the south. You know, he hasn't got these 2 points here connected, but he's denying them from his opponent, and they'll take a little while to decap and then recap. Oh, little engagement here. Rifleman low on health, but they are going to be able to chase that away, and a Jeep may come in and get the kill on that. Oh, he does that. Jeep is now veterancy 1. It is a hero Jeep. Very rare that you see light vehicles like that getting veterancy for the Allies. Or the Axis. I mean, I think upgrading Pumas and Pumas with veterancy was a pretty rare sight in the early stages of the game, although it had to become more common later on. Yes, so the map control is swinging in the favor, I think, of Aniketos, because he does have access to this whole section of the map. So a couple of plus 10 munitions, plus 16 munitions, and those 2 fuel points. Although having said that, Ahenian has been able to squeeze out a Puma. I mean, they were very cheap in the early stages of the game, but of course getting up to that Sturm Armory and the 2 upgrades at HQ that were necessary to get the Sturm Armory out in the first place were not cheap. So I'm a little bit surprised by that. Maybe the observation post that he had up in the very early game has sort of been able to squeeze into that just in time, so to speak. Now this Puma has found one rifleman squad undefended over here. We don't yet know if they have stickies, but they could take a little bit of damage there. They decide to run, actually. In the meantime, the M3 half-track has come out from the Allies, breaking through that pin here. I think any second now you can expect the quad anti-air gun to just pop out of there, chase away that MG. Ooh. I mean, tricky. I mean, he's using the raid ability once more. It's very interesting to see that used. It seems kind of strange to me watching a little light vehicle sat next to a point and the thing ticking down. It seems somehow wrong, but there we go. And yep, there is the quad half-track upgrade. That should do an awful lot of damage now to that house. The MG won't go down immediately, but will go down over time, particularly now as the support of that MM8 has come over as well. M8 will do some damage there, and that will also mean that the sort of time that the Puma is able to do any damage to these units is kind of limited now. It takes a lot more damage from the M8 than it's able to do to either of those in return. Unless Ahenian does go for the up gun, which I'd be very surprised at. Yep, the MG does the right thing, gets out of there, runs on home. Now this awkward engagement here, again, it's going to go on. In the north, we have another bit of an awkward engagement. An MG firing from a distance here. Trying to support this Volksgrenadier squad, but that Volksgrenadier squad is now being chased away. Might be low health, hard to tell here. But the quad half-track now supporting that. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a tricky one. And these rifleman squads, it looks like 2 rifleman squads. Yep, one very low health, a Jeep, and an engineer squad, which is also low health. Kind of trapped in this corner of the map. The M8 should be able to chase the Puma away and do just about enough. And I think the targeting on the Puma here is not quite right. I wouldn't myself have been targeting this armored car. It looks like maybe that was a bit of an oversight there from Ahenian. These 2 M8s will come over and very easily clear this up now, and I think this is a bit of a tricky situation now for the Axis. To be honest, I mean, he's been able to get a little bit more map control in the south. He's been able to decap the fuel, get it on his side, and get the VP and kind of slow the VP drain. But at the same time, he still doesn't have real access to this southern part of the map. He does have a lot of income in the north, but I think particularly with the raid ability, that can change very quickly now with this large, massive allied units coming in. A Stug is moving forward, though, to engage with this. I mean, it'll do a great job against any of the light vehicles, although not really easily able to chase them down if they try and stay anywhere. They won't be able to engage with the Stug particularly easily, although M8s, you know, have been known to take out Stugs from time to time. It is not a common thing. It does the right thing, sends the Jeep to the north to capture that point. Sends the quad half-track to the middle to decap there. Or actually, it looks like he may be going to chase off some of this infantry in the south while using the M8 to capture here in the north. Yeah, this squad half-track now coming down. We'll probably chase away this Volksgrenadier squad. That looks like a fresh Volksgrenadier squad, having lost no health whatsoever. Could be that that's a completely fresh one, which is interesting to see at this stage of the game. I would have expected, you know, that sort of resources to be invested in stormtroopers perhaps at this stage, or another Stug or another Puma, rather than getting another Volksgrenadier squad on the field. Yeah, it looks like that's a third Volksgrenadier squad, so that's a bit of an interesting decision. Of course, the Panzerfaust. Oh, and the Panzerfaust. I did not expect him to be able to get off enough Panzerfaust to be able to take that down. That is a huge oversight from Aniketos to let that happen. That absolutely shouldn't have happened. In the meantime, huge horde of riflemen here coming bearing down on this Stug. It's not going to be able to do a great deal on its own against this, although the support of the MP40s will help for sure. Oh, yep, and the sticky bomb does get off. That guy, the quarterback there, being able to get the long distance throw and damage that engine. Now it'll be interesting to see if the riflemen do choose to chase down the Stug and try and stick it to there. Nice little dodge there by the Jeep. It's an expensive way to take down a Stug. I mean, kind of worth it, but if you need to use, you know, 3 or 4 sticky bombs, I guess it's worth it, particularly because it allows you to, helps you to maintain a bit of map presence and stops the Stug from really forcing you away, particularly with heavy reliance on light vehicles. It is an expensive one. That looks like it may take a 4 sticky bomb here. He's opting to do it. Fingers crossed he doesn't get the 5% bug. That could really be a shame. Yep, let's go down. And it gets a little bit of veterans on his rifles. I think taking that down does seem like it was a really good decision in the end. These two M8s still running wild. This one a very low health, but it's still doing well. And some engineers there sitting around just in time to repair it, get it back up to fit and healthy so it can do well in the next engagement. In the meantime, another observation post might go down here for Ahenian, and in fact it will go down unless this MG can really do some very quick suppression. Nope, not able to take it out. Now the MP40 is going forward in combination with this MG. Will be able to chase away these squads. I mean, he's using 3 squads to cap. You really are putting yourself at risk of the multiple suppress like this, and you're really at the mercy of the MP40s. Having said that, this MG could go down. And it looks like, bafflingly to me, those 3 suppress squads were actually able to chase away that MP40. Interesting indeed. And here we go. Now, this might spell trouble for the Axis. They do have a Stug here, which is in a decent position to kind of block this and slow this down, particularly as the Calliope is having a little bit of trouble pathing its way to that side of the map. But yeah, as the Calliope start to come out into the field, they really are a tough thing to counter at this stage in the game. That not only are they a fully fledged Sherman tank, but they also have access to that heavy barrage. If you've got munitions in the bank, you can do a great deal of damage to the Stugs, which, as all tanks, have pretty weak top armor. Well, this is about as bad as an engagement as this Sherman could get. It is now backing away. Front armor to front armor like that at short range. It's a pretty poor decision for the Sherman, but it does back away, and we see the Stug missing there. And the Sherman should be able to get it absolutely perfect. And even getting a penetration at the front. I think I'm going to be made to look very silly here if the Sherman penetrates every shot on this Stug front of this Stug. Even an M8 Stug. Oh, and we have a barrage here coming in. Takes out the Stug. May take out this Pioneer. Yeah, it does take out the Pioneer. So there's an awful amount of damage to this house too. So look at that house. Yeah, oh gosh, look at that. Beautiful destruction on the house. It's really, the game engine here was so ahead of its time. I think that looks absolutely fantastic. Anyway, in the meantime, oh, looks like a couple of mines in the middle do take out one M8, and a second M8 may, well, is just within a sliver of health of also going down, and this Volksgrenadier squad looks destined to come over and finish that off. In the meantime, oh, another mine, that mine we saw being laid earlier, catches the Sherman Calliope as it tries to head into the base, and now the Stug coming out should make short work of that. In the meantime, infantry engagement in the north. Looks like these MP40s are going to be able to chase away the infantry quite nicely. Fortunately, it is coming to finish the job in the middle. Haven't quite been able to do it. But this Stug is going to finish off this Calliope, I believe, while the infantry chase off, well, the Axis infantry chase off the allies in the north, and they're going to be able to exert a little bit more control. Yeah, Calliope goes down. MP40s go around the back of them. Oh God, they may be trying to finish it off with just the MP40s. I haven't seen that before. I'm not sure that's possible, but who knows, maybe it is. Well, actually, the Stug should be able to come over and finish the job too. Oh, and it is the MP40s that finish the job. I guess when the tank is that damaged, it's got to be surprising that an MP40 firing into the gas tank. It's not surprising you couldn't do a little bit of damage there, but still, that's quite a rare sight. Stug 4 now moving to the north. Gonna try and chase off this quad half track, but it's going to encounter yet another Calliope, or the second Calliope of the game that's come out from Aniketos, so it has to be a little bit careful. Another Stug coming out here. Maybe a good idea for him not to engage right away and bring that second Stug over as well. Stugs are something that really, they benefit from numbers, and the more of them there are, they kind of get more and more useful on the field. A couple of Stugs are much harder to engage with, even if you have two Shermans, than a single Stug with a single Sherman. They're so much weaker to being circle strafed or attacked, particularly if there's any support for the Sherman. This Volks Grenadier squad is going to have to get out of there quickly. They're going to really struggle. That was a little bit of ninja running there. Might help them get away. Damaged engine there from a sticky bomb. I didn't see the countdown, so that might have been a slight bug that if the countdown wasn't showed, or maybe it's just my eyes. I'm getting too old. I'm almost as old as, well, I'm twice as old as this game, so that is very old indeed. Quad half track choosing to come here and doing a bit of damage on the Volks Grenadiers does well and gets out before the Faust goes off too. That's a nice little bit of work there. Stug is not going to be able to chase down that half track, which is so fast. In the meantime, we see another one of these classic engagements. Sherman against Stug. Stug being chased into the corner of the field. That's a nice idea, actually. If you back yourself up against the wall, you are able to sort of present your frontal armor with a little bit more consistency. Although with this destroyed engine and the support of this rifleman squad, which may have itself have to get out of here if it's not careful. Oh, that's a double veterancy rifleman squad. Oh, that's a real shame to lose that double vet squad. Now, it looks like actually the Calliope 2 might have to get out of there. Panzerfaust coming off. If that is a broken engine, in fact, it's not even a damaged engine. It is taken out fully there. In the meantime, a rifleman squad is chasing down this other Stug, but I think that's a nice couple of engagements there for the Axis. Taking out a Calliope and a veterancy 2 rifleman squad. For the cost of maybe this Stug down here, I think I would take that if I was in Ahenian's position. Yeah, and he's going to be able to exert a little bit more control in the north as well. He's got a Volks Grenadier squad up here, which can start capping. Another one going up there. May need something to help down here. It seems like both players are struggling a little bit with unit preservation. Again, as we've discussed in previous episodes, I think the quality of play, I mean, this is definitely a step up from the games we've watched before, which were all played in September. And this is an early November game, right at the end of the lifespan of patch 1.2 of Company of Heroes. And I think you can see that the players have sort of benefited from those 2 months of playing and theory crafting within the community. And I think the level of play is a great deal better than we saw in earlier matches. And that's not to say it isn't a fair way off from what we see today in some matches. Yep, the Allies have decided to kind of swing around to the south, now disengage from the north, knowing that they're in a little bit of trouble there. They can't quite stand up to the might of these two Stugs simultaneously. So they decided to disengage there instead of swinging around and using their superior capping power, particularly with the help of the light vehicles and the raid ability. It's going to be able to sort of, make a tactical retreat away from the north and instead come down to the south and make sure they keep their incomes high. AT gun out now. So now I think the choice to go for an AT gun is actually very good. I mean, Sherman Calliopes are an impeccably strong tank. But I think the addition of an AT gun means that in those sort of frontal engagements where you're not able to dictate kind of where and when the engagement takes place, the AT gun is able to sort of, no matter where you're engaging with the Stug, is able to do a great deal of damage. It's got the armor piercing ability, which means that even if the Stug has its frontal armor facing you, you'll be able to just shoot straight through that and do a great deal of damage as well. So I think that's a nice addition, to be honest. M3 Hardtrack in the south is now being repaired by these engineers, and it looks like it's also reinforcing some rifleman squads at the same time. In the meantime, the second rifleman squad that went down to that side of the map is going to be chased away by a combination of the MP40 Volks Grenadiers and the Stug. And Ahenian prioritizing the victory points. That's interesting. He's prioritizing those despite the fact that 280 is still in the bag. I mean, it's kind of tricky, right? It's a judgment call whenever you're deciding in a situation like that. Do you prioritize capturing the victory points first, which it seems like Ahenian is doing, or do you go for the fuel call, go for some fuel or go for some munitions, helping you kind of win future engagements more than the VPs would? A third, fourth Sherman Calliope on the field now. They really were an easily spammable tank considering they don't cost any fuel whatsoever. I mean, however cheap the Stugs were, this is much cheaper, hey? And now moving out onto the map here with... Oh, that's Stug getting shot there by the AT gun. Oh! And the AT gun just about managed to take out that Stug. That may have even shot through the hole in the house. Or just curved around the house. Like, that was pretty spectacular. That was great. Just being able to get that, seeing that. Oh, and the Tiger Ace is on the field. That has kind of come out of nowhere. It's interesting, we don't yet see a Pershing on the field. And the Tiger Ace, I believe, cost more command points than the Pershing does. So that's, I mean, it's a big surprise to me to see the Pershing come out, the Tiger Ace come out before Pershing does. It must mean that there's been a great deal more experience points are being received by the Axis than the Allies in this game so far. A huge firestorm comes down on these units. Huge firestorm that are managing to get away. It looks like that's a lot of men have gone down there. That is a huge costly engagement. Several riflemen down on the floor. Not going to get picked up. No medics in sight. AT gun down, so it's not going to be easy to chase away this Tiger Ace as it would have been if that was in place. The Sherman Calliope 2 may go down. Tiger Ace running around. Will it get that final shot off? No, chooses not to chase. Maybe a good idea given the fact that a Pershing could be incoming at any second, and Ahenian will certainly be aware of that. And the fact that there's sticky bomb, riflemen with access to sticky bombs right there, so I think maybe that's a good idea to run away there. Ahenian looks like he's just salvaged something in the north there, and he's getting a bunker down using some manpower to maybe get an MG nest in place and try and protect this high munitions. That's an interesting point. Maybe he wants munitions, more munitions for firestorms, or propaganda war perhaps in the future, which could be handy, particularly if you look, the manpower drain is now. You know, this is why Ahenian is an excellent player and I'm a very mediocre one, because I think just as you see the triple cap now on the VPs, and they're ticking down really very quickly, is going to put a little bit of pressure on Aniketos to sort of get out there and get some of those capped. And you do sometimes find that if you're forcing people to try and take unfavorable engagements because they need to get out there as quickly as possible, you can force them to lose a little, to take engagements that are less favorable than they would otherwise. That M3 half track is also up to Veteran C1, takes out another Pioneer squad that was trying to come out onto the map. This is the issue with quad half tracks in the early game. They are so fast. They are virtually unkillable in maneuvers. Looks like it's just running straight into the base, seeing if we can pick off any retreated squads. None there at the minute. But I mean, to deal with this, I mean, if he decided to just stay there, it would have been a case of having to either use a Stug from the Sturm Armory or send one right the way back from the map, which it looks like he may be doing both. See, that's the power of these M3 half tracks. They're so quick. They can get away from any engagement they don't like, and do a great deal of damage against any infantry if they're able to track down infantry squads on their own. And as you're seeing now with the raid ability on top of that, they're able to decap points and really make a difference in the map control stakes. Really powerful. I think that raid is perhaps something that is underused even today, and maybe it's worth seeing a little bit more of that in the future. And I might try and incorporate it into my game a little bit more. Although notably that seems to be capping at normal speed. I would have to check that. But I think today raid is quite a slow cap. Light vehicles using raid cap at a slower rate than a rifleman would, for example. It looks like another AT gun coming out now, and a third AT gun, unless that is a recap of the one in the center. No, I don't think they would have been able to recap that. It looks like it was destroyed. But with this AT guns, engineers, and Calliope moving forward, and riflemen with bars, it's going to be pretty tricky. That's a decent set of combined forces there from Aniketos. He should be able to do some damage. Oh, and these Quirks and ideas really look like they're in a tough spot. I think Aniketos has done what he needs to do in the short term. He's capped one of the victory points for himself. He's not yet stopped the drain, but by removing the triple cap, it means that he's not sort of so desperate to get out there and change the points. He has got a few minutes, to make the difference and can be a little bit careful to use the engagements he wants. Oh, and it looks like that was an Axis mine there, and the Tiger Ace was shot just as it was traveling over that, and had its engine damaged as a result. Pretty sure that's an Axis mine. Yep, these were Ahenian's mines, then. That's really, really very unfortunate. It's gone down. MP4 is coming from the back, and now being pinned by the BAR's pin ability. You see the Calliope is using its rocket barrage, going to try and take up the Tiger Ace. taking a lot of damage, but it looks like it's just about going to sneak away unless these AT guns can get off a couple more hits. Oh, and a hit mine on the Sherman Calliope. That is a disaster. Hit mine critical, of course, doesn't damage the engine in any way, so it'll be able to chase it down. It does do more damage, does double the damage of a damaged engine critical or something from a mine, but isn't that enough? It looks like it may be able to get away. The Tiger Race may get away anyway, despite that misfortune with both of those mines. It looks like it will be okay. Although a sticky bomb going in now as well. Main gun destroy. This is a very difficult engagement. Stug is trying to help out, and the Stug kills its own Tiger Race. Oh my gosh. A little moment of patricide there. That Stug is going to be in serious trouble when he heads back to the barracks, heads back to the Sturm Armory, and gets asked, how's the day, how's the engagement, how's the battle? And say, oh great, yeah, took out a Tiger Race. Oh my lord, that came as a genuine shock. This is something that I noticed the other day when I was making a Blitz episode for the Allies in that case. And I was using friendly fire to get a series of tanks to very low health, so that I'd be able to demonstrate how good the Allied war machine was when it wasn't limited, and how many tanks it could refund. And what I noticed when I was doing that was that the different tanks seemed to be, more difficult or harder to hit with friendly fire. The M10 and the Pershing were extremely easy. I mean, the health was just coming down like a rocket, and I lost a few. I lost a few before I was able to get them down the right level of health, get them down to that sort of 10-15% health mark. But Shermans, on the other hand, are just not hit by anything. And yeah, I had 2 Pershings and 3-4 M10s shooting down on these Shermans, and just nothing would hit them, wouldn't connect. And I was kind of using the sort of splash damage off shots on the floor to knock them down. That's interesting. And we saw the Stug there. First shot, it did trying to shoot those riflemen that were attacking the Pioneers, and boom, it hit straight away. Perfect penetration, and the Tiger Race goes down. Anyway, we did see, while I was blabbering on about friendly fire in the game, that some Voltron leaders did rush the middle, tried to get that point down, were forced to retreat, and now we see on top of that, the Pershing is out on the map. So the Allies do have this heavy tank, and that is a awkward situation for that Voltron leader. It does seem to manage to get away okay. You are a very lucky boy if you get away from that and manage to retreat safely back to your headquarters. Yes, but it did seem like Ahenian again was trying to prioritize the middle. He sent in that Volksgrenadier squad with the MP40s, perhaps trying to take out the AT guns, perhaps trying to cap that victory point down. There's also a Volksgrenadier squad up here, which looks like it could be heading for that victory point. I think we're at the situation now. That Stug is not long for this world with those 2 AT guns shooting it. Even front on, I thought for a second there it was going to get away. Looked like it tried to get in there to get the firestorm off, which is going to come down and may well take out both of these AT guns. The riflemen are running forward, but I got to see this. It looks like the guns themselves, they both survive. It looks like that's a nice little engagement. And the riflemen were able to chase away. They're now to 2 double veterancy. Well, the firestorm is still coming down. That seems to come down over a much longer period than it would today. Where it's maybe a little bit more condensed. Stug coming in now. Is it going to try and take out these AT guns? That would have been a really good idea, I think, if you're relying heavily on Stugs. You really want to remove any AT guns from the field that you can. Well, of course, you don't want to get stickied and then go down either, particularly with the Pershing on the field that he's already seen and he's already well aware of. If I was that Stug, I would be getting out of there as quick as possible. I don't think you can safely go in there and take out those AT guns. Looks like another mine was laid down there earlier in the match, and it has managed to take out the engine on this M3 half-track. This is going to be one of those really frustrating things for Ahenian, I think, where he's been annoyed by this half-track for the entire game, but isn't necessarily going to have a good opportunity to take it out. He's sending in some Pioneers from behind. Oh, that's a double 5% bug on this half-track. Surviving. I mean, this Stug, a triple 5% bug. This half-track is surviving. Oh, it's going to survive. The Pershing takes out the Stug first. What a moment of misery. What a moment of misery for Ahenian. He has had a couple of really, unfortunate, I would call them unfortunate moments now, that his own Tiger Ace going down to the Stug 4 and the Stug 4 being unable to penetrate this half track with little to no armor on it, to the naked eye anyway. That is a very awkward moment. And a driver who looks pretty, well, he doesn't look in a good way, to be honest. He's still managing to drive, but either he's very, very lazy, perhaps very, very drunk, or there's a little bit of a bug there, and the damaged engine means damaged driver as well. Anyway, now we do see a second Tiger Ace on the field, moving forward. This Pershing Tiger Ace battle that we saw in an earlier episode is a bit of a tricky one. The Pershing's frontal armor is so powerful that you often see a lot of points deflecting, a lot of shots deflecting. But the Tiger Ace is, you know, on the whole, I think a stronger tank. So without, you know, a great deal of support from Riflemen, there's one squad here, no AT guns remaining. It's a little bit tricky. You are going to need something to help out there. Squad of MP40s now are going to run in and try and do some damage to this Rifleman squad, this Vet2 squad. We also hear another firestorm going down. You can hear it before the smoke comes down. That's an interesting change. Oh, big hits, big hits! The engineer squad goes down the half track, and Pershing managed to get out of there. In the end, I think, as the Allies, you would kind of take that. You'd take losing an engineer squad for the cost of the munitions cost of a firestorm. Certainly could be much, much worse. Although now the Tiger Ace is going to move in from this new angle and may be able to do a bit more damage. The MP4 is coming in again. Oh, that Rifleman squad is going down very low, but it looks like it does come out on top with the help of the M3 half-track shooting from a distance there. And now the Riflemen are going to be able to come over with their Veteran C2, trying to get that sticky bomb off. Aren't able to right away. Ooh. This is a very awkward one. There's so little on the field that it really could be anyone's game at this point. Certainly the VPs are still heavily in Ahenian's favour, and he's got a lot of time with 352 victory points in the bank. He's got a lot of time to build up a force, an Axis force, and kind of do some damage over the time. But what we notice is that he hasn't invested in any veterancy for either his infantry or his tanks or his support units. And on the other hand, we do see, you know, a slow accumulation of veterancy on the Allied units. And what that means is that as this game goes longer, if the Allies are able to keep their units on the map, they will get steadily better over time. And the Axis won't unless you're making that investment in veterancy. So today, I think we see, veterancy is one of the things that makes Axis so dominant in 1 versus 1 in particular. You know, if you're just slowly accumulating veterancy throughout the game, whenever you've got 100 manpower here or there and a little bit of extra fuel, you can just invest in that straight into a bit of veterancy and it will make you better in every engagement. Whether that's the healing effect on your infantry or the extra armor, elite infantry armor you get from veterancy 2, makes a huge difference. Oh, and that is a missed opportunity. Oh, it does get the shot off. I was just about to say, a missed opportunity by not chasing down that squad. And particularly in the context of these early patches where the bars that the Riflemen carried were extremely good on the move. It wasn't one of the like it is today where you kind of have to sit still to really get the most out of the bars. They would fire them on the move and do almost the full damage, almost like the MP40s are. Which could kind of be used as an assault squad in that way. Those Volks are in a tricky position. They do have the support of this Tiger Ace here, so that's. Will be okay, and they're using a Panzerfaust on the house and taking out the squad. What a decision there. In the meantime, another engagement here. This double vet wreck from the squad with the support of a Sherman Calliope coming over. The Calliope does manage to get in behind the Tiger Ace. This Volkswagen squad are trying to come over there now. The combination of the Sherman Calliope and the Riflemen are going to be able to damage the engine, do a lot of damage. Oh, and the Calliope crushes that squad of Volksgrenadiers as well. I would not want to be in this position here. The Tiger Ace isn't going to be able to take out that Calliope. It's got well out of range there. It wants to at least. Another sticky bomb doesn't get the engine destroyed critical I wanted, but the Tiger Ace decides to move back into the range of the rocket barrage briefly there, but does get away without taking too much more damage. But now we are in the situation where this Pershing, low health as it is, oh, this is a bit of an awkward stalemate here. They're probably just outside of each other's line of sight, I think. That Stug could have popped in here and tried to get the kill there. Looks like maybe only one penetration would be needed to take that out. Obviously a risky move, given that the AT gun is here, but I think if you could move in there, if you could got those couple of hits right, even if you went down to the AT gun after it changed direction, that's a very good trade in terms of manpower. As it is, we see the Tiger Ace is kind of stuck here on this victory point. You might want to just leave it there, protecting the victory point, and you know, you've got the cap on the north. Maybe send something down around this north side to try and cap that other victory point. Because really, once you've got the triple cap, you're talking just a couple of minutes away from the victory. You really are going to force the allies to prioritize victory points soon if you invest in that. If you make the decision to invest in that, you know, prioritize that over fighting the units on the field. I don't like that decision from the Tiger Ace to knock down that hedgerow there. But having said that, you know, you can kind of get away from anything if you can shoot like that and take out the half track. Although having said that, it's now taking a lot of damage, a bit more damage from that rocket barrage. It's kind of slightly disappointing, wasn't it, that rocket barrage? It did some damage, maybe 10-15% to the Tiger Ace, but you kind of expect more for the cost of, I think, 125 munitions it was at that stage in the game. Yeah, you might have wanted a little bit more for your money, bang for your buck there. Oh, and now it looks like that Calliope will go down. If the Tiger Ace hits, can he do the stop command, get that extra accuracy? Not quite. Doesn't get it. Looks like he tried it, but the Calliope will get away. Now, in the meantime, the Pershing is running directly head-on into these two Stugs. Whoa, with the support of the AT gun, that was bound to be a pretty good engagement, I would expect. Stugs do decent work against the Pershing. Frontal armor, they're going to struggle slightly. But with the support of the AT gun, they should be in a good spot. Oh, and the Tiger Ace has decided to come around. Does manage to take out the AT gun crew. May not be able to take out the Sherman Calliope 2. Gets a destroyed engine critical. Be happy with that. Stops it getting away. Does get the kill now. Now that Tiger Ace, though, is on very low health. Was likely to go down. The Stugs didn't immediately come and re-engage. The engineers pick up that AT gun. You know, they've probably been watching the AT crews using that for months on end, and they just picked it up and knew exactly what to do. Taking out the Tiger Ace from behind with that one shot to the rear. Another Pershing out on the field. Double Pershing push into the base now. Now that those Stugs are suddenly looking like they aren't going to be able to hold this bridge for much longer at all. Aniketos is sending that rifleman down to cap that southern VP. These Volkswagen trying to come out this way. I mean, it seems obvious now in retrospect that they would have been better off moving around the north of the map, north side, and then trying to sneak behind and get the cap off as they go down. And now we're in a situation where, I mean, sure, there's a couple of pioneers here on the north with a flamer that can do a bit of a job at defending that point, but any light armor that goes that way will be able to decap that, no problem at all. But I think the bigger issue here for the Axis is that these two Pershings are now bearing down, one with Veteran C2 and now bearing down on the base. One Stug goes down, and it looks like he's not trying to get anything out on the field. It seems as though he's just saving up for that next Tiger Ace that he thinks might be able to save the day. Though I'm not sure I can see how a Tiger Ace with no support whatsoever is going to need to take this on. Base MG goes down now, so these rifleman squads, if they decide to, can come running straight into that base, and there will be basically nowhere left on the map that's a safe spot for these Stugs to sit and repair. These Pioneers now are going to do what I thought before, a little sneaky move to the middle VP. A bit unfortunate that there's an engineer squad here, although they should be able to take that out pretty handily given that they have the Flamer upgrade. Fairmac causes will go down now. With this being decapped, they will lose access to that southern fuel. I think at this point, fuel is not really a concern. Here comes the Tiger Ace. Now, a Tiger Ace on its own. That's the thing, if it had a little bit more support, if that Volkswagen was still around, if those two Stugs and a Tiger Ace rather than one, you might be a little bit more confident. About winning this engagement. Although, having said that, has managed to sort of flank ground here. It's out of the firing arc of that AT gun. He's able to take out that AT gun with the first shot. Not quite. Does a lot of damage. He was able to take that down first. and remove that damage. Yeah, there we go. What a shot there, taking out not only that AT gun crew, but also the nearby engines. Now he's able to get himself in a tricky situation. That Pershing with Veterancy 2 may go down, or it's running away, might be able to get out of there. No, it does go down. Losing Veterancy 2 there's a real shame. And now this has really turned around. I think maybe a couple of bad decisions there on behalf of Aniketos. To not having the AT gun facing the right way, kind of deciding to reveal the rear armor of the Veterancy 2 Pershing rather than using the other Pershing to kind of tank the fire of the Tiger Race while the Veterancy 2 one ran away. A little bit of a missed opportunity. They might regret that. It looks like the Pioneer squad that I thought was going to go for the VP cap instead tried to do the cutoff here, which hasn't cut him off from anything, because you can see on the tactical map he would have had access to all these middle munitions anyway around this side. So the decision to go for the decap on this and go for the cutoff rather than going for the VP, I really think he might regret that. Now hasn't got any control over that northern VP. So that will be decapped by the Rifleman squad. I mean, how much more valuable would this MG nest have been? Here, you know? Nice mine. Very nice mine. There's all the damage there. I think protecting this plus 60 munitions, particularly when you're Blitz Doctrine, yeah, far less important than taking out the VP. Although the second mine goes down. It's some really nice work. A Pioneer squad is going to be able to get the decap on the south. There's no light vehicles that'll be able to get around there in time. And this other Pioneer squad will come in and be able to take out this middle VP. So I think despite the kind of missed opportunity in the north, we may be about to see a situation where the victory points are getting critical. If both of these go over to the Axis, you know, in the next minute or so, the Allies are going to have to move on the middle quickly. Now, they do have the advantage of the infantry. It's only a couple of squads, but compared to the 3 Pioneer squads we have of the Axis, that is, you know, an advantage, and you know, quite a significant advantage, particularly with the bar upgrade and the damage that can do. One going back to reinforce now, while the other moves on the middle. A Veterancy 2 Rifleman squad with the 3 bars. I mean, that could take on 3 Pioneers easy peasy, even if they had flamers, I would suspect. So he does get the middle VP and the south VP. He's put some mines on the middle, and there's another mine there. It's tricky to see, but there's another mine here. It kind of looks like it's kind of buried in the terrain somewhat, at least visually. Now, I think this is, you know, this is a mature move. You know, this is like that thing in chess where you make a quiet move where you decide to go to that northern VP, retreat a Rifleman squad, get it reinforced. Get that second Pershing out, and you allow your victory points to tick down somewhat. So you're getting to the point where you'd almost say that you're critical, mission critical on VPs, but you get out that extra Pershing, you get that extra Rifleman squad out, you get to a situation where you're more confident that you can take the fight and perhaps win the match overall. Did that kill both mines? Killed one of the mines, and the Pioneer squad laying another one. Oh, but there's a double damaged engine on this Pershing in the north. It's not going to slow down the Pershing in the south, which is going around trying to get to that rear armor of that Tiger Race. The stolen AT gun does go down. Only the Pioneers were fighting that, so it's not particularly strong. Pershing in the north shows its rear armor to the Stug, and might go down. Although, oh, it's got the Allied war machine. Comes out now, and then you have to make the decision of the Allies. Do you try and fight that anyway, or do you just let it do its... Oh, that's a free Pershing. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Do you sort of attack ground and not grant them the free Pershing, but you're taking all that damage in the meantime? Or do you take it out? And do you take it out and give them the free one, but kind of win the engagement as it's currently going on? It sort of depends. If you think you have the units to come on and win the second engagement, and you know you're prepared for this fresh Pershing that's going to come out, you might go for it. But I think this is a really tricky spot, particularly the VP so low. I too might have gone for the cap. It might have gone to take out the Pershing and then gone for the cap in the meantime and just sort of tried to hold it. You might have even prioritized just taking out the infantry and leaving the Pershings if you thought you could get that cap down and maintain it. This is a head scratcher. you're this close to taking out the match, and you go for a Panzer command, which means teching up to tier 4 at some point, which I wasn't aware that he'd done previously. Might have been a new one earlier, I suppose. But it means teching up to tier 4 means building the Panzer command, and then means building a unit out of it. I mean, against this, you're not going to want a Panzer 4, so it has to be a Panther. He's going for. He must want that bit of extra anti-tank, heft to be able to take on these two Pershings. The Tiger Wraith and a Panther against two Pershings is a pretty good engagement, I think. Might be pretty close, but you gotta think that by the time he's, spent the resources upgrading the headquarters, spent the resources building that, and got the Panther out, that's another Tiger Race. He might have been much better served retreating that first Tiger Race if he could find a way to do so, although, that's far from easy. Ooh, the mines are doing the work on this rifleman squad. Oh, a little bit unfortunate there. They're so low health. Could have been... Well, I think you'd perhaps say it would have been fortunate for Ahenian if he'd got the squad wipe on that. Looks like he used propaganda war there. Propaganda war to get that to retreat. So he's kept that under his control, but a second rifleman squad and not too far away, so he'll be able to take that. Pioneers going to the north. Pioneers going to the middle. The Pioneers in the middle are absolutely going to go down. They don't really stand a chance of capping this, I think, before they die to the Pershing. So that isn't going to work. The Panzer Command isn't doing anything. Just imagine. Oh, it runs away. It goes up there, runs away from the Pershing that it sees. I mean, that's an enormous investment. The Panzer Command is an enormous investment that I think, in the heat of the game, is understandable, because if you think you need more than just the Tiger Ace on the field to be able to take on these two Pershings, that's understandable. He's lost his Sturm Armory. He needs something. But I might have just gone for the Tiger Ace and rebuilt maybe my Wehrmacht quarters, or even tier 2, something a little bit cheaper than this, but that wouldn't require taking up to the final phase. I'm gonna have to remember the name of the phases at some point. Assault phase, Panzer phase. Anyway, that'll be something I'll brush up on before the next episode, for sure. Anyway, as it is, the Pioneers did manage to get this cap off on the north. They're now planting a mine, not protecting the VP, but kind of between the two. That isn't going to do the trick, and you're going to take additional damage there. It'll be a miracle if you get away. You will get away, but the tanks in the south now. I think it may be the situation where the Allies are just so dug in and have such an advantage, particularly on the infantry front. I'm not sure how the Axis are going to get away back into this. Maybe that's the reasoning behind Ahenian going for the Panzer Command. If you think to yourself, you kind of need one big brute force attack. You might have to sit in your base and lose a few hundred victory points and get yourself down probably into the low hundreds or even into the double digits. But then you'll have that one attack that you can sort of rush out there, push the Allies off the map just for that short time that you need to get the double. Even a double cap will be plenty to knock this down. Anyway, as it is, it looks like he's kind of doing a middle ground. This Tiger Race has put itself in a situation where it's really outnumbered, outgunned by these two Pershings. Damaged engine now. The Pershings can kind of do what they want with it. They can just run around behind, or they can try and take the frontal engagement using their strong frontal armor. Oh, the sneaky Pioneers coming in here in the north. Oh, there is a rifleman squad supporting here, so they will be able to get the decap up. Importantly, although the Tiger Ace seemingly are focusing on these riflemen. Only three models left now. If the Tiger Ace can get that final shot, wipe the rifleman squad, cap the middle VP, that could be enough. One rifleman! Oh, there is a supporting engineer squad, so that could have done the trick too. But my word, if that... There, he's playing with fire here. The rifleman does go down. Triple veterancy now on this Pershing. The Pioneers, sneaky Pioneers in the middle, doing, I think, as much as you could ask of them. Taking that middle VP, but these engineers are going to be able to kind of stop the rot So maybe he'll only lose another one or two VPs. Yep, just another one ticks down from 14 to 13. Another Calliope on the field. Sherman Calliope, full health now. I think the only unit on the field for Ahenian is this Pioneer squad. Looks like he's rushing to the north, going to try and get that VP2. But at this point, it's just not going to be enough. If he had a few more things on the field and could hold that middle VP, we're talking a matter of seconds, in maybe a minute of a double cap, and you'll get the you'll take the win. You can afford to be a little bit behind in map presence, but not to this degree. I think if I was Aniketos at this point, I might just think about going straight for the base. You know that the Tiger Race is the only hope that Ahenian has, so I'd have just gone in there for the HQ and just blitzed it, left some infantry on each of the points, each of the victory points. Make sure you keep those under your control, or then rush in, take out the HQ, and kind of cut off the final lifeline. Looks like that may have been what he was going to try thinking now. Maybe just going to keep the Pershings on the points and send the Calliope in, which can use its barrage ability on the HQ and do an enormous amount of damage. Looks like that's where it was headed, but it has been headed off at the pass by this Tiger Race, hiding behind a building. Another Tiger Race coming out now. They're engaging around this house. Bit of an awkward one. If any of you have seen Band of Brothers, this really reminds me of the moment where the Tiger Race just peers its way around from behind a tank, behind a house, excuse me. And all the Shermans know they are to retreat. This Calliope a little bit more brave than the Shermans of Band of Brothers, but knows that it's a little bit outgunned in that situation. Now then, the situation for Ahenian is clearly pretty desperate. He doesn't have any infantry on the map whatsoever, I think, unless there's some hidden in a bunker somewhere I'm not able to see. He has a Tiger Race, full health, and he has a Panzer Command. Could this be one of those rare moments where Knights Crossholders are the right decision? I mean, my sensible side of my brain says no. Knights Crossholders are never the right decision. They are so expensive, incredibly expensive to reinforce, and aren't necessarily cost effective in terms of the DPS they do. However, hear me out. Couple of Knights Crossholder squads, maybe even 3 Knights Crossholder squads. You just send them. Maybe we're using your Tiger Race to distract the armor for as long as you can, and the Knights Crossholder squad on each point. You can probably take on a Rifleman squad head to head. Maybe not a Veterancy 2 one if that's still on the field, but if that so happened to not be on the victory points, 1 Knights Crossholder, 2 Knights Crossholders, Tiger Race in here, distracting as much as possible. I think that might have been just about enough to get the decap. Of course, 2 squads of Knights Crossholders, you're talking close to 800 manpower, so that's not an easy thing to put together, but that could have been an option. Anyway, as it is, it looks like he's gone for the Pioneers instead. He's got a few units on the map. Looks like he is going to try and do the distracting trick, using the Tiger Race in the north. Indeed, all of the armor goes to the north and try and take that out, and he tries to sneak the Pioneers onto the map. One going to the south VP, north VP. As it is, it looks like the armor battle is taking the attention of not only the players but also the caster, and they're not microing here. The Pioneers have won the fight. Rifleman heading to the north. Can the rope-a-dope do the trick here? He needs to send that one Pioneer squad immediately to the southern VP. These Rifleman squad are going to be able to nip over from here, so I don't think it's going to be quite enough. The Tiger Race now being chased down by the other 2. It looks like it did get the Pershing in the north pretty low, but particularly with the help of the AT gun, it's just completely outclassed, outnumbered. Doesn't be able to do it. The Pioneer squad's coming here, might get the decap, but I think it's going to be from propaganda war. That's a genius move. You know, I want to be the hypecaster and say that's going to be the victory, and it was such a clever move using the propaganda war. If this Rifleman squad hadn't been here, he could have got the cap off. But the Rifleman squad are there in time. Even though he gets the southern VP, the middle VP is going to be protected by the second Rifleman squad that was just hiding over here behind this house, protecting the AT gun, and they are just there in time. That propaganda war was stroke of genius. You know, saving up the munitions to get that down. You know, one thing you might have wished to do actually, which would have been again a very risky thing, you know, when you're working with so few resources, would be just to kind of come back here, try and coax the other rifleman squad to come over so you could get them both of that propaganda. Well, that could have been really outstanding. But as it is, the riflemen are able to chase them away. Although the riflemen are going for the southern victory point, it's not going to get decapped. It's now got to the stage where Ahenian has just run out of time, and that will be GG. The Panther comes out now, far too late, and it isn't to be. 13 victory points to 0. 13 to 0. I mean, if you contextualize that, I mean, this game has lasted around about an hour, and you contextualize those 13 victory points, which is maybe of a double cap, where you may be thinking about 30 seconds. To think that 30 seconds of with the difference between defeat and victory there, really kind of brings home the importance of victory points and how, you know, we often say that they shouldn't be the priority. You should be looking at resources, trying to make sure you have the best position on the map first and foremost. But in these situations, when it comes down to the wire, you can see how that can come back to bite you. Anyway, I want to thank you for tuning in, anyone who's got this far into this very long, but I hope very exciting replay. I want to thank you for your support of the channel and for taking your time to watch the whole way through. I hope you've enjoyed these first few episodes looking at patch 1.2. And as we move into patch 1.3, we're going to have a few new Blitz episodes looking at some of the strange and wonderful bugs that came out of that patch, which I think has been described as the low point of Relic's patching career, which is, you know, saying something. But also we'll see some really exciting matches as the level of play continues to improve. People get more and more familiar with the game. We see some new rising stars float to the top, and we see the continuing dominance of some of the best players who are already here right from the beginning. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you're excited too, and will join me as we continue to go through Company of Heroes history. Thanks for watching.